For 200 years, the outer rim of the Sarian sector was a cosmic graveyard, a silent, empty expanse where nothing stirred. On the scout vessel Starfall Vigil, Sensor Officer Liora Vey was used to the monotony. Her job was to watch the void, report the nothingness, and try to stay awake. Then one day, a single insistent beep shattered the silence. Liora initially dismissed it. Space debris, probably. Wreckage from some long-forgotten battle. But this object was different. It moved with purpose, its trajectory too straight, too fast. Her 4 amber eyes widened as she ran the identification program. Her claws trembled as the result flashed on screen. Unknown configuration. Terran origin suspected. Human. The word was impossible. Every child in the galaxy learned the story. Humans were extinct. 2 centuries ago, their home world, Earth, had vanished without a trace, leaving only ghost cities and silent ships behind. They were the stuff of legends, of cautionary tales told to young spacers. Yet here was a real physical vessel approaching their position. Captain Ranik Dros, a veteran whose scars told stories of a dozen border wars, strode to Liora's console. Even he, a being who had faced horrors that would break lesser minds, froze. "They are not extinct," he breathed, disbelief heavy in his voice. "They shouldn't be," Liora whispered back, "and yet our sensors do not lie." The human ship grew larger on the view screen. It was sleek, dark, and utterly alien in its elegant simplicity. A voice, calm and clear, filled the bridge of the Starfall Vigil, cutting through the stunned silence. "Sarian vessel, this is Commander Jason Hale of the Terran exploration ship Resolute Dawn. We seek peaceful contact. Please respond." The legends were no longer legends. Humanity had returned. Word of their return spread like wildfire. But not everyone was ready to welcome them back. Soon after, the Resolute Dawn found itself facing 4 massive Threxian warships. These were not diplomatic vessels. They were instruments of annihilation, bristling with weapons, their armored hulls designed for one purpose. To any other observer, the single human ship looked impossibly outmatched, a fragile thing against a wall of destructive power. But Liora, watching the encounter from the Starfall Vigil, knew better. The galaxy had forgotten what humans truly were. They were survivors. Their entire history was a testament to their adaptability, their cunning, and their unshakable will to endure against all odds. The Threxian flagship hailed them, its commander's voice a guttural snarl. "Terran, you are an extinct species. Leave this space or you will be destroyed." Commander Hale's response was a study in composure. "I have a duty to protect this vessel and its crew. Any attack will force me to respond in kind." What happened next defied all known physics. In an instant, the Resolute Dawn simply vanished. It didn't cloak. It didn't jump to faster than light. It was just gone. The Threxian sensors went wild, scrambling to find a target that no longer existed. For 43 agonizingly tense seconds, the void was empty. Then, as if from nowhere, the 4 Threxian warships simultaneously went dead. Their engines, their weapons, their communications all offline. They were floating helpless husks in space. Just as suddenly, the Resolute Dawn reappeared in its original position. Hale's voice returned as calm as ever. "We chose restraint. We believe every life has value, even those who would threaten peace. This is who we are now." Liora finally let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was a mix of pure fear, profound awe, and utter disbelief. Humanity had just demonstrated its power not by destroying its enemy, but by completely neutralizing them without firing a single shot. Later, aboard the galactic hub Station Centris, the air was thick with tension. Liora and Captain Dros watched as humanity's representatives stood before the galactic Concord, an assembly of 47 different species representing trillions of lives. Humanity's return had thrown the established order into chaos. Commander Hale's second-in-command, Ambassador Selene Cross, addressed the assembly. Her silver hair and serene demeanor were a stark contrast to the gravity of the moment. Her voice was soft, but it carried an undeniable authority that captivated the room. "For 2 centuries," she began, "we were forced into hiding. We were a young species, scared and on the brink of annihilation. In that time we watched, we learned, and we grew. Now we have returned to offer what we have become. Not to conquer, but to protect." She paused, letting her words sink in. "A great threat is returning, an ancient enemy known as the Vorth. Their arrival will endanger every life in this galaxy. Humanity will stand as your guardian if you will have us." The chamber was silent. Representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Finally, a Threxian delegate, his scales bristling with indignation, hissed, "You disarmed 4 of our finest warships without firing a shot. How can we trust you won't do the same to us?" Ambassador Cross met his gaze without flinching. "Trust is not given, it is earned. Our actions, not our words, will prove our intentions. We offer our protection because it is the right thing to do, not for any reward." From the observation gallery, Leora's heart pounded in her chest. Humans were no longer a myth. They were power. They were history. And maybe, just maybe, they were hope, returning at the galaxy's darkest hour. In the days that followed, the Terrans proved their words were more than just rhetoric. They didn't just show off their military might. They shared their knowledge. They offered advanced technology, superior tactics, and crucial intelligence on the Vorth. An enemy that had consumed countless galaxies before setting its sights on this one. They taught the Concord species how to prepare, how to unite. They demonstrated that strength without mercy is tyranny, but mercy without the strength to enforce it is meaningless. Liora watched them, fascinated. She saw the calm, decisive leadership of Commander Hale and the quiet, unshakable humility of Ambassador Cross. She saw how these humans had forged centuries of fear and isolation into wisdom and power. This wasn't a species bent on revenge or conquest. They had survived extinction and returned as something more. Slowly, the galaxy began to listen. Old rivalries were put on hold. Grudges that had simmered for centuries were set aside. Even the proud Threxians, humbled and a little bit terrified by their encounter, began to accept humanity's guidance. A new reality was dawning. A far greater threat was coming for all of them, and their only chance was to stand together. Standing on the observation deck of Station Centris, Liora looked out at the Terran fleet. Dozens of sleek, dark ships hung silently in the void, patient sentinels watching over the galaxy. She remembered the old stories her grandmother used to tell her. Humans were weak, soft, and fragile, but they were also dangerous. Now she understood the truth. They were dangerous, yes. Not because they sought war, but because they had survived what should have been impossible. They had emerged from the ashes of their past wiser, stronger, and most surprisingly of all, kinder. The Vorth were still out there, a merciless ancient tide of destruction sweeping across the stars. They believed themselves to be unstoppable, but this time, they would not find a divided, squabbling galaxy ripe for conquest. They would find a galaxy that was ready. They would face strategy, courage, and an ingenuity born from the ultimate struggle for survival. They would meet humanity, and with humanity came hope. The galaxy would not fall. It would rise. And for the first time in a very long time, Liora smiled.